Las Vegas Summer League tournament style as we begin the single elimination portion of the event. Got the 24th seed, the Chicago Bulls, the 9th seeded Dallas Mavericks. Welcome back inside Thomas and Mack, everybody. I'm Matt Weiner along with 8-time All-Star and free agent. Vince Carter. Roz Golden-Woody will be along with us as well. We've got the Bulls here in the number 7 overall pick, Wendell Carter Jr., who's been awfully good here so far, shooting about 58%.
I'm extremely impressed with him, his ability. Obviously, we knew defensively his ability to block shots, but he set screens, rolls to the basket. He's very efficient. Obviously, he rebounds, blocks shots, runs the floor. He has a nice-looking jump shot. He has the ability, and he's trying. I think he's just being under the radar is good for him. Everybody's talking about Mo Bamba, Ayton, but we cannot forget about this young man right here.
Or that one, the consensus National Player of the Year, Jalen Brunson, getting the start for the Mavericks here. Had a rough start shooting, 3 of 14 against Phoenix, just 1 of 9 against Milwaukee, but he had 8 assists in an easy 20-point win here against the Golden State Warriors. Mavericks win the tip. They go right to the rim, and a quick bucket from Mitch Creek on the follow-up, and the Mavericks are up 2-0. That is as efficient a first basket as you're going to find.
Absolutely. But I tell you this with Jalen Brunson, even if his shot doesn't fall, he is a pass-first point guard. He makes plays for his teammates. Everything else will come.
Antonio Blakeney, aggressive offensive player, handled it for the Bulls. Wears number 9. Gave it up to Dante Ingram.
That young man can score. Antonio Blakeney can score.
He can, and he has.
He reminds me a little bit of a Lou Williams type. Just scores with ease.
Certainly that mentality.
Ways. He gets to the front of the rim. Might be a little better leaper.
Ryan Arcidiacono,
he definitely
turned away at the rim, and here come the Mavericks. Shot up, shot in. Dallas not messing around here so far. That's Phil Green getting the start out of St. John's. Knocks it down. Mavericks come in 2-1 here in Las Vegas. Chicago 1-2. Chandler Hutchison, one of the Bulls' 2 first-round draft picks. Where's number 15? Gave it up there. And the shot is off for Dante Ingram, one of the heroes from that Loyola of Chicago Final Four run. Here's Brunson on the 3. Nothing wrong with that shot.
I think he has his feet under him now. He's settled. Now, that's the biggest thing when you're drafted. You just want to come out and you want to impress your team from the beginning.
That's Chandler Hutchison knocking down the 3. Hutchison is interesting. He's not shot the ball well here in Las Vegas. It's all very small sample sizes, but he has shot exceptionally well from 3-point range. He's 5 of 6 now, and that was a question mark about him. In fact, he reworked his shot at Boise State before his senior year to improve as a 3-point shooter. It just wasn't a natural part of his game.
Good for him. And I had him yesterday and just watched him play. Plays extremely hard, and he shot the ball extremely well then, defends very well, runs the floor. Nice player.
Arcidiacono lost it there. He'll get matched up with his former Villanova teammate Brunson, both national champions.
You see, there's the wonderful thing about Jalen Brunson. He gets down the floor, runs the transition break, has his head up, and makes the right play at the right time. He didn't give it to the big too early to put him in an uncomfortable situation. He just put the ball right where he needed it, and Spalding finishes the shot.
That was Ray Spalding. He's impressed out of Louisville. Carter gets the bucket for Chicago.
I was saying yesterday with Carter, we know everything defensively. I think they're going to feature him a little bit in the post, and I would like to see his offensive game down there in the post.
Brunson over to Jalen Jones, who's averaged 12 a game here and shot 44% from 3-point range here in Las Vegas. Looked awfully comfortable there without a defender in his face. Here's Hutchison. That 3 is off.
Yeah, he rushed that one. He rushed that a little bit.
That was my fault for mentioning how well he shot the ball from 3.
He made his first one. And he's like, hey, I'm in the zone.
Here comes Antonio Blakeney. He averaged 32 a game in the G League last season to earn G League Rookie of the Year honors.
I remember his first game or two, I want to say 2 or 3 games with Chicago when they brought him up. And he didn't stop. He lit it up like he was supposed to be there.
Right. Spalding with another quick bucket. Ray Spalding's got a kind of a smooth, easy way around him. Carter knocks down another shot for Chicago.
You think with your last name Spalding, you're destined to play in the NBA?
That's a good bet. It's a good bet, right?
I hope for him.
Mavericks 6 of 9 from the field.
You hit Brunson on the break, head up, has the ball the last second for the great pass to Spalding. Here it is again. Mavericks up 14-7. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Summer League. I'm Roz Gold on Wood A. One name that keeps coming up in Summer League play is Steve Nash. We discussed how he has an impact on the Warriors, working with them on body control, or his impact and influence on Trae Young, talking to him about core strength, flexibility, and diet. And now we watch the Mavs' Jalen Brunson, who's wearing number 13, which is Nash's old number, because he idolized him growing up. And Jalen said he admired Nash because he wasn't necessarily the most athletic, but still effective. Guys?
Thank you, Roz. I don't know if Steve is here, but
he would be a busy man.
He's influencing a lot here.
And I will say, he is my former teammate as well.
Who isn't your former teammate? That'd be a shorter list, I think.
You're right. You might be right.
The free throw, by the way, was a defensive 3-second violation. That's the guy that came out of break, just to clean that up. Mavericks lead at 15-7. Got Villanova against Villanova up top with Archie Diacono and Jalen Brunson. Matched up. Former teammates, national champs.
Since we're talking about former teammates, Jalen Brunson's father, Rick Brunson, was my teammate as well.
Of course he was.
Yeah. So it's just great to see Jalen
in New Jersey,
grow up in Toronto.
Oh, Toronto.
Great to see him, grow up. I knew him as a young kid and see him now in the NBA doing so well. Hurt my heart, obviously, when his Villanova Wildcats, who Alvin Williams, my former teammate, lets me know about that all the time. But he's matured into a great player, great feel for the game, just like his dad. So he deserves everything he's getting.
There's Blakeney off on the 3. The Mavericks, Goran Dragic will experience a similar thing when Luka Doncic starts to play, because Dragic played with Doncic's father, Sasha, professionally.
Wow.
And has known Luka since he was a little kid hanging around the gym. I mean, Luka's only 19 now.
That's when you start feeling old.
Doncic is no longer in Las Vegas, by the way, so that the mystery of whether or not he was going to play is
over.
Yeah, it's over.
It's over.
As you've said before, it's over.
It is over.
That is now definitive. He will not play. It seemed like a long shot. He's played a ton of games, 150 games or so the last 2 seasons. And remember, he finished his season even after the draft. It was that late into the year that he finished. So in order for him to have played here in Las Vegas, he would have had to ramp up the conditioning again, get himself ready to go.
So he had to miss a game or 2 just to get drafted and traded.
No, he didn't miss any time. He came over and went back and finished and won the Spanish championship.
A lot of flying.
Won the EuroLeague title, EuroLeague MVP, won the Spanish championship, Spanish League MVP, all at the age of 19. Youngest EuroLeague MVP ever, youngest Spanish League MVP ever, Final Four MVP.
So what you're saying is pretty good.
Well, at that level he certainly is. So is Wendell Carter Jr., who just found that opening, took the pass, and finished like it was nothing. It would have been fascinating. It's understandable that he's not playing here, but it would have been fascinating to see Doncic play.
And I think it would have been good for him just to have an idea of what he's walking into. It's one thing, obviously, practicing with the team, which I'm assuming he did
here.
That,
yep.
okay? But it's another thing actually playing against the talent here.
Right.
Like we heard Bagley say, it's guys are a little faster. The game's different, and the Euro game is definitely different than the NBA game, and he's going to want to be prepared for it, but you want to have some type of feel of it before you actually step on the court for the real thing.
Right. Chandler Hutchison hard to the rim. That's cleaned up by Jacob Wiley. He's got an interesting story we'll get into. Went off Collinsworth or Adams for Dallas, and there's Jacob Wiley. Jacob Wiley went to Montana to play basketball, played there a year, quit the team, ran track for a year, then spent a couple of seasons at an NAIA school, Lewis and Clark, before he finished his career at Eastern Washington and wound up playing 5 games in the NBA last season for Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. Kind of looks like
amazing
Eric
athlete.
Gordon a little bit.
He was an all-state tight end in high school in the state of Washington.
While you were talking, Wendell Carter Jr. down there with an impressive post move to the fadeaway to the baseline. Very nice move.
A lot about Carter is impressed so far, but his Bulls trail it by 8 here early on. 8-point lead for the Dallas Mavericks here. First quarter in Las Vegas. Antonio Blakeney goes to the free throw line. Averages just under 18 points a game here in Las Vegas so far. 38% shooting and just 2 of 13 from three-point range, but he is capable of lighting it up. And I mentioned it earlier, he won the G League Rookie of the Year award this past season. 32 games with the Windy City Bulls, during which he averaged 32 a game.
32 a game and shooting 35% from 3. I mean, that's getting it done.
Yep. Fractured his left wrist in March, ended his rookie season with the Bulls. Kyle Collinsworth trying to set up Wiley down low. It got through the hands though, and back to Chicago.
He definitely deserves the label as scorer.
Kaiser Gates in for Chicago. Came up short of that little push shot. Here's Kyle Collinsworth out of BYU. Euro step, but the lefty finish was answered with a swat.
Yeah. Randy Brown, Bulls coach, played against him.
Not with them.
Not with him.
Quick turnover and quick 2 buckets for the Mavs. Manu Laconte and then Jacob Wiley with back-to-back baskets, and Dallas is back on top by 10. There's Randy Brown. He has Summer League coach.
He has a ring or two, doesn't he?
He does.
Nice.
We'll check how many exactly, but
Good guy.
Josh Adams out of Wyoming handles it. Wearing number 14 for Dallas. Really small backcourt with LeConte and
I'll tell you what, they're harassing the Bulls guards, though. Goodness.
Can't help but think of J.J. Barea when you look out there.
Oh, yes.
Small point guards.
There's not a lot of J.J. Bareas out there, though, boy.
No.
That man can play basketball.
Yes. And how big was he back in that 2011 finals?
Yes, he was.
Changed the lineup, and he really changed that series.
He did.
There's LeConte with the 3-ball.
Yep.
Knocks it down. And the Mavericks have doubled up the Bulls here early on, 26-13. Got to get some offense going. Blakeney's just the man to do that.
Well, what Dallas has done is just stepped up their defensive intensity. Subbed the smaller lineup in. The smaller guards have picked up full court, has gotten their hands on the ball, and gotten them easy baskets, easy layups.
Mavericks head coach Jamal Mosley working the Summer League sideline. Under a minute to go here in the first quarter. Adams hands it off, gets it back, try that mid-range, but instead finds Kostis onto the Kupo.
Did he jump? I promise you it didn't look like he jumped.
Didn't jump a lot, and then a silly foul for the Bulls on the other end as Antetokounmpo came down.
He got body
Sean
checked.
Long just hip checked him for no apparent reason at the free throw line. It's even stranger because Long was on offense.
So what he was trying to do is keeping Antetokounmpo above him so he can get the easy layup. Randy Brown with 3 rings.
3 rings with the Chicago Bulls.
That is impressive.
Here's Collinsworth. That's off a Bull. No, it's not. No, it's not. I thought it was off a Bull. They say over and back, and it's a violation.
Bulls got away with one. Randy Brown knows it.
He'll take it.
That's the beauty of having a coach like that. Randy Brown, who's the point guard, very vocal point guard, yells at his guard who was about to throw the ball back court. That's something you can do in college. You cannot do it in the NBA
Can't do it
game.
here.
He yells, "Don't throw it," and you can see his guy freeze up like, "All right, I won't, coach."
Foul out away from the ball. And that'll erase the shot clock. So with 11.7 seconds to go, Bulls will be able to take their time here and get the final shot of the quarter.
I'm thinking ISO for Blakeney.
Seems like a decent bet. He's got Adams in front of him. Long comes out to set the screen. Blakeney dribbles away from it. Good trap out front with Antetokounmpo and Adams, but they call the foul.
And that's a typical Rick Carlisle defense. Is hey, you ISO, get the ball out of the best player's hand and make somebody else score. But they were clearing out, running away from the basket, and he got stuck. But bailed out.
Surprised at the end of NBA games, you don't see that more often, where you don't just concede that the opposing team's best player is going to try to make a play and play him one-on-one.
In those situations where they clear it out, usually they're putting the guy, I won't say the worst offensive player, but in reality it is, deeper on the baseline. So why not trap?
Right.
And make them find him and make that guy score. And that's a position usually they don't want to be in.
Right. Adams at the buzzer. In and out. In and out. 9 Mavericks scored, 8 assists on their 12 buckets. Good offensive showing, a 13-point lead after 1. Back in Las Vegas, great start for the Dallas Mavericks. 28-15 is their lead over the Bulls here after 1 quarter. We're joined by Monty McCutcheon, Vice President of Referee Development and Training with the NBA, and here to oversee his guys and work on some innovation as well as you experiment a little bit. This is the perfect place for that, just as the teams do with their player combinations and sets, etc. What are you working on? What is your focus here?
Well, you know, with our younger officials, we're establishing good fundamentals just like the teams are. And for us, our good fundamentals are good mechanics, proper positioning, making decisions based on open looks instead of closed looks. All of the fundamentals that when you practice time after time after time, they come up when you need them in November, December, and maybe even May and June at some points in their careers.
I'll tell you one thing, they got a first-hand look and to get some experience. When one of the referees go down, they had a two-man crew.
They did.
And I think they handled it pretty well.
You know, those are
I don't know
always-
much about it, but I've been around long enough to kind of know what I'm
Vince,
looking at.
we established many years ago that you don't know much about refereeing.
Yeah, true.
But I don't know anything about being up above the rim either.
Right.
No, you know, that is a good situation because it does happen in life. You know, we have injuries just like players do. And I think that learning how to cope with that while you're also concerned for your partner that may be injured, you have to get to the work, you have to keep your concentration levels up, and you have to perform and serve the game the way it's expected to be done.
It seems like they did that.
They did an excellent job of it. Of course, we're concerned for Matt and his well-being, and he's getting looked at now properly so that we make sure that he feels good about coming back for his next assignment, hopefully.
What is the most common mistake a young referee can
I think
make? Guys at this level.
And, you know, it's interesting. Young referees make, you know, similar type mistakes. And young can be different things. It's young in each league. You know what I mean? Because anytime you come into a new league, there's this angst of performing well. You've been hired. You want to do well for the people who've made that choice. And early decisions are often one of the common mistakes we see in all of our officials. You know, one of the great things about the Summer League is it allowed us to provide a pipeline, and we can talk about that when we come back from break. But I think talking about the pipeline would be a great opportunity to show how we get officials.
Bulls have cut it to 6. We'll talk it over with Monty McCutcheon when we come back. Skycam gives us a good look at a really fluid athlete, Chandler Hutchison, the number 22 overall pick.
Making the
for
15 look
Chicago
good.
Bulls, yes. Bulls have cut it to 6 here. We continue our conversation with Monty McCutcheon, the Vice President of Referee Development and Training with the NBA. In terms of what the NBA is experimenting with, where do you, I guess it doesn't really matter, or maybe it does, your opinion on the coach's challenge and that sort of thing, or do you just adapt to what's happening and
I think
try to figure out how to work it?
Yeah, I think it's important, Matt, to realize that referees adjudicate the game as the rules that are provided to them. And we will do our best to use the rules appropriately to create an environment of safety for our players. Also, we want to create an environment that fairness is the, you know, one of the fundamental tenets of refereeing, so that through the rules, talent can be exposed. And when we apply rules efficiently and with a common sense approach to what is fairness, I think that we do really well at providing that environment. Some of the innovations that we're seeing here this week, including the Coach's Challenge, are experimental in nature to see if they can provide a service to our game. What we want to add to our game from a rules perspective is that service to the game. You don't want to be adding things that disrupt game flow or disrupt the ability of the game to be put first. And I think that the Summer League is a great place for those to be attempted to find out if they have a role for us or not.
In your opinion, what do you think is commonly the toughest play in the game to officiate? Well, for you,
sure.
First, I mean, in all of your years of refereeing, and then for the younger generation of referees, which may be different.
Yeah, it may be different because the game is changing. You know, when I came into the league, Vince, back in the day with you had to referee the post to be able to be an effective referee.
And maybe the Euro step probably as well.
Exactly. And then the game has over the years moved out to above the free throw line, where we have 200 and something picks a game, if not more, and they're all out along the perimeter, and they're sheer picks, and so the game has changed, and as such we have to be able to adapt as referees. I think two plays come to mind in terms of difficultness. One, the legality of a good screen. Is always a difficult decision, especially when we have the amount of screens that we have. You want to be calling meaningful plays and that fit the standard of an illegal screen before you make a decision on that. But oddly enough, one of the most difficult decisions, because you're so concerned with fouls, are out of bounds. Your mind is on fouls and loose ball situations where you're worried about the physicality of the game, and then the ball will shoot out of there sometimes. And refereeing is oddly not just about what you look at, but it's about an alignment of what you're thinking about while you're looking at it.
Right.
And good concentration along with good positioning and good fundamentals in our mechanics leads to effective refereeing.
As a group, and maybe it's unfair to ask you to speak for the group, but generally speaking, do referees want more or less video review moving forward? I mean, there's a fair amount of it now.
Sure. I think we have a nice balance now, but I think the game will inform us in that way. When the game starts to show us that technologically we can improve the game for the service of the game. Remember, referees serve the game. They serve the players, they serve the coaches, they serve the game itself. Now, that does not mean they are subservient to those constituencies,
sure,
but that they are there to create those environments. And referees are not against things that help them serve the game better.
Right.
And as such, I think organically the game will continue to evolve, as we've seen, talking about the post to the game as it's moving out to the three-point line. And as such, we might find that technological advancements help us in that way. Referees aren't really against that in any way.
Has the basketball world figured out the block charge review call yet from the NBA Finals?
I hope so. But, you know, that brings up an interesting point, that there is a reason people dedicate 25 years to being a referee, and that is to be able to properly adjudicate a rule, even if it's hardly seen.
Right.
And when our job as the professional expert, so to speak, comes into play, you have to have shoulders broad enough to understand that it may not, the correct decision may not be received as correct from a perception standpoint.
Right.
Your job, however, is to do what you've been trained to do it to the best of your ability, and then to use the proper tools that are available to you based on the rules to get the call right.
Well, and you can't think in those terms in the moment anyway. You just have to.
And in regards to the play that we talked about, you know, there in game one, you have to understand that the game, Vince at his height is one of the top 10 athletes in the world. And that is moving so fast, and our game is so powerful that when both players end up knocked back into the restricted area, right, and everyone is in the restricted area at the end, you better very well be 100%, because we have a rule that says if you're in doubt, and on the biggest stage, what we don't want is bullheaded referees who do have some small doubt, who are too righteous to be able to overturn their own decisions.
Right.
And we don't want that. We want integrity-based people, and we think that we have those in place, and I think that play proved that.
Well, I want to say this before we go off. I'm thankful to say that I got the opportunity for your last game. I was able to play it on your way out, and it's always been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure for me, Vince.
Monty, we appreciate the time and enjoy Vegas. Try to get some fun in along with the work. Lead the Bulls here 31-28. Matt Weiner, Vince Carter, Rosgold on Woode. Calling it for you here on NBA TV. Good to have you along. Phil Green bounces into the jumper. Won't go. And here comes Wendell Carter Jr. Pretty smooth in the open floor, handling it for Chicago. Dante Ingram's got away defensively, and he gets the easy bucket. Summer League tournament continues tonight in Las Vegas on NBA TV and the ESPN app. You'll see the Hawks, Trae Young and the Hawks against the Indiana Pacers, then Golden State and Charlotte. Late night on NBA TV.
You're seeing Brunson stepping up, pull up dribble to the three, knocking it down. He's having a nice game.
Just watching him in person for the first time, I see no reason why Jalen Brunson can't play in the NBA.
For sure. For sure. He has it all. He's everything you want in a point guard. He's willing to defend. He can run a team. He communicates, and he shoots the ball very well.
He's got vision.
Yeah.
He's got a command. He's got championships under his belt.
He sure does. He has a player of the year under his belt, too.
He's got a bunch of player of the years, and
that's just
the presence of mind
knowing the game. Absolutely.
Draw a foul from Wendell Carter Jr.
There again, if you're not going to beat your big, step, showing the ball. If he goes for it, wait, jump into him. Great job. That's just being around the game. I mean, he comes from, obviously, from a basketball family, studies the game, and it shows.
listed at 6'3".
One shot. I got hit.
Consensus National Player of the Year and a 2-time champion at Villanova. 33rd overall pick, 3rd pick of the 2nd round by Dallas. And a 2nd-generation NBA player. Your former teammate Rick played 9 years in the NBA.
He was a great point guard.
Blakeney will fire and stroke it.
And we must say his dad is in Minnesota as a coach right now.
7 points now for Antonio Blakeney. Carter again switched out on Brunson. Tried the 3 that time. Rattled in and out.
I can imagine for Rick Brunson coaching when the Timberwolves are playing the Mavericks. He sees his son out there. Do you give away all of his secrets, or you keep it to the cup?
Offensive foul called against Mitch Creek.
Use that forearm just a little bit.
The Australian. There's that elbow against Archie Diacono.
He's a strong dude.
Archie Diacono brings it back the other way for the Bulls.
How many times have you seen these two go at it?
Bulls trailed by as many as 15 in this game. They've cut it to 2 and now taken a 1-point lead. Antonio Blakeney.
Just ball movement, finding the right guy. That's what they've done.
First lead of the night. Raj has more on Blakeney.
Well, guys, Antonio Blakeney, as you mentioned, was prolific in the G League as the Rookie of the Year, averaging 32 points per game. But he talked about the riddle of trying to find a role in the NBA and stick. And in the G League, you get to kind of do whatever you want. But in the NBA, he was saying, that's not necessarily my role here. And that doesn't prepare me for what my role would be in the NBA. So he's saying right now, every day in practice, he's not working to be a volume guy, rather an efficiency guy. So for you, Vince, like, how does a guy like that balance the two worlds he lives in, which might be G League and NBA?
Well, first of all, kudos to him understanding that, because there's a lot of guys forget, like, all right, you want to play on the big team right now. You may not be the go-to guy, but you want to be efficient when the ball is moved to you, being able to knock down shots. If you're asked to play the one-on-one game, which he has that ability, you never want to forget who you are as a player. And he's a scorer. He's a natural scorer. He's a gifted scorer. So yes, you are that, but you have to do it within the confines of the offense. And kudos to him for understanding that and working at that.
Really
That's
good.
how you stay in the league.
Really good self-awareness on his part. The Dallas bucket there ends a 23-7 Chicago run. Mitch Creek working hard on the offensive boards, and Mitch Creek earns himself a trip to the free throw line.
Working hard down on the glass. We saw a little a la Steve Nash with Brunson penetrating in the lane, beating the big, but instead of getting the basket, keeping the dribble under the basket, finding an open teammate, which he missed.
Right.
But he's creating the opportunity for these guys to get easy baskets. Creek off on his first free throw.
Steve Nash was so good at that probe that he would do on the baseline.
That's it. Probing, and then especially when you're beating the big doesn't want to guard you up top, chase you to the rim, and then chase you back out. Usually that gets your guys an open shot when they continue to probe like that, which he and as well as Jason Kidd was great at that.
That's going to go right back to Dallas. Good defensive pressure as Phil Green
Harassing
was
defense.
harassing Archie Diacono and forced the turnover. Archie Diacono's grabbing the side of his head. Well, contact. Here's Creek, spins up with the left hand, won't fall.
Creek has a strong upper body, so he's able to take the contact from bigs and move them around. I mean, he put his body into Carter and moved him out of the way.
Somehow Blakeney came up with that. Didn't get the shot, but Carter's there to clean it up. Wendell Carter Jr. now with 10 points.
Very scrappy, sticking with it, finishing with the left.
Josh Adams just inside the three-point line, got it to go.
But I'll say this, that says a lot about Wendell Carter and his ability to move his feet, because they're switching. He's playing the 5 position right now, and they're switching 1 through 5. Usually you see a 1 through 4 switch, but you don't see 1 through 5 because you're worried about quick guards being on your center. So, well done.
Creeping up on halftime here in Las Vegas. The Bulls will have the ball in a tie game when we come back. 22 seconds to go here before halftime. Wendell Carter Jr. continues to shine here in Vegas.
I mean, he's showing everything. Great touch, great feel of the game. Obviously, if you're going to play at that other school down the street from Carolina, you're going to learn the game. And he's showing that he has great awareness. He knows the game. Very efficient at 5 for 7, 10 points, 5 rebounds. So defensively, he has a knack for rebounding, blocking shots. He runs the floor. I mean, he's a very, very impressive player.
A lot to like.
He's a Carter. I mean,
6'10".
Something has to be good.
He is a Carter.
I did ask him if we were related down the line. He didn't really know how to answer that.
He hasn't done the research on that?
Neither have I.
The genealogy?
Yeah.
Here's Hutchison off the back rim. 5 seconds left in the quarter. That's up and in. Carter there.
There he is.
To punch it home.
Just being in the right position for the offensive glass and giving themselves a 2-point lead.
3.6 left for Dallas. Down by 2. Phil Green to Creek. Runner. Ooh. Won't fall.
Heads
Good
up play,
first
though.
half.
Yeah, this is very entertaining.
Carter at 12 for Chicago. As the Bulls take a 2-point halftime lead to the locker room. Much more coming up here at the half, and of course the second half on the way from Vegas.
On Mavs, I'm Rosgold on Woode, and I have the great pleasure of being here with fellow Stanford alum Robin Lopez. Also, he plays on the Bulls. What's up? And right now, I'm going to have you play analyst because you've got some help inside with Wendell Carter Jr. What stands out to you most about him so far?
I think that I love his poise on the floor. I also really appreciate how tuned in he is to things defensively, especially for his age. He's been, especially just for anybody, he's been so good on that side of the floor, helping out his teammates.
Have you had a chance to really speak with him yet and kind of advise him?
A little bit here and there, but I haven't. I don't know if I'm going to need to do too much advising with him. He's been playing so well. I think I'm just going to excited to get out there and play with him.
Now that would be cool. And another guy you get back is Markkanen. What are you expecting for him in year 2? What's the next step for him?
I mean, that's interesting. Lowry's such a unique player. His strengths really play to the way the league is trending these days. I wouldn't be, whatever way his game develops, whatever he chooses to work on this summer, I wouldn't be surprised.
What do you mean by that?
I just think he has a lot of potential to improve in almost anywhere on the floor, I'm not, that sounds like he sucks and he needs to work on everywhere on the floor.
We're not saying that.
I'm not saying that. I feel like Lowry has the potential to excel from anywhere on the floor.
All right, and another part of headlines for you guys, you re-signed Zach LaVine. And for those who might be critical of the contract, I'm curious, as a teammate, how has he shown himself to you guys? What do you think is the potential for him in Chicago?
The first thing I always think of with Zach, he's such a hard worker. I didn't get to play with him too much last year because he was rehabbing. And then the last half of the season, we played our younger guys. So I'm excited to get out there, and he's such a passionate player on the floor. I know he wants to make his teammates better, and I know there are moments where he has the ability to take over a game himself, and that's kind of rare a little bit with basketball players. So I'm really excited to get back out there and play a lot of games with him.
Awesome. I hope good help for everyone, and I wish you the best for your team and yourself this season.
Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, folks, we have more Las Vegas Summer League action coming up next. Stay with us.
Welcome back, 42-40, the Bulls on top after one half here at the MGM Resorts NBA Summer League. About set to start the third quarter. Matt Weiner, Vince Carter, the 8-time All-Star and current free agent.
Current free agent.
Phone ringing?
Phone right here.
How's the
Not
phone?
yet.
Good? Charged?
It's quiet.
Ready to go? All
yes.
right. Rosgold on Woody with us on the sidelines here as well. A good first half between these two teams. Mavericks took a 15-point lead.
Yes.
Chicago came back to take the lead at the half. For Dallas, lots of good offense and lots of good out of Jalen Brunson, their second-round pick.
He's been phenomenal. Just getting into the paint, knocking down shots, making plays, putting the ball, putting his players in the right position to succeed. His vision is unreal. And now for himself, finding opportunity to score after he's gotten his guys involved. And you see with a sweet stroke, playing a great game. He will make an NBA roster. He will make this team.
8 points, 5 assists, not a single turnover on the ledger so far for Brunson. Just really in control, and sometimes you see that with experienced point guards here in Las Vegas. The challenge for guys like Brunson, like Archie Diacono, the guy he's guarding right now, is when you deal with the more explosive point guards around the NBA, can you guard those guys? Can you stay in front of them? That's one of the challenges ahead for Jalen Brunson.
Of course, that's always going to be a question. But right now, I think they just want to see, does he play, or does he show that he belongs here? And I think he's showing that. And it's always going to be an adjustment period. You know, for each player, the top 5 picks that we're expecting to be great, or the top 14, let's say the lottery picks we expect to be great, that adjustment period is guarding their position and seeing, you know, it's one thing playing right here in the Summer League and you're playing against guys who are trying to make the league. Then there's the next level of training camp.
Right.
Then the reality hits you when you're guarding the Russell Westbrooks or the whoever it may be, LeBron James of your position or whatever.
In the West.
Yeah.
I mean, the point guards just keep coming at you.
100%.
But he runs a team like he been doing it his entire life, which at this point is basically the case.
Yes, for Jalen. Make a correction. His dad is not in Minnesota anymore, but I know it's a great feeling. He's sitting here. I'm sure he's here, or he's definitely tuned in watching his kid run a team in a great organization like the Mavericks. And he's doing it well.
Phil Green pulls up and knocks down the mid-range jumper. And we are back to tied at 42. Wendell Carter at 12 in the first half for Chicago, and he's got it for Chicago.
Good patience, great balance in the post.
Archie Diacono, long pass to set up Hutchison, who knocks down another three-pointer.
Yes. One thing about both of these Villanova guards, they have great vision, great ability to pass the ball under duress, under control, and putting the ball like right where a shooter would want the ball to score. And that's a, you know, hats off to them, but also the Villanova organization just. Wendell Carter's not afraid to challenge any dunker.
No, Jalen Jones went in hard, going for that dunk.
I didn't see a foul, but
I don't know that I saw one either. He'll settle for free throws. So 45-42 here at Thomas and Mack. Jones to the free throw line. Meanwhile, over at Cox Pavilion, got the Rockets up by 14 against Brooklyn. Rockets are a big story this summer. Chris Paul with a big deal.
that is a big deal.
But they lost a couple of key wing defenders in Trevor Ariza, Luke Mbah-a-Moute.
I think that's the most interesting thing in the, you know, and what's most, well, let's say the one thing that I'm very interested in, seeing what they do with that, because those two guys were extremely important to their defense.
Right, which improved drastically.
Absolutely. Ariza was in the starting unit, one of their guys that he guarded the best offensive player for their team. And even when he was not shooting well, of course they shot the ball extremely well as a team, he was one of the guys that was going to do his job, and he had to take on the challenge. And yes, your offense tends to suffer when you're guarding great offensive players like that, but man, that's a luxury to have two guys like that. Now, well, they had three. Now they're down to one.
Right. The championship already on his resume. Ariza won one with the Lakers. There's a look at the bracket. We saw Cleveland beat Sacramento earlier. If you weren't with us, Colin Sexton, very impressive. They had 25. The winner of that Brooklyn-Houston game, looks like Houston right now, will advance to meet the Cavaliers Saturday. And the winner's side of the bracket, Chandler Hutchison about to inbound for the Bulls. Guy who had the ball, like so many of these college players, good college players, guy who had the ball in his hands a ton at Boise State. Boy, good job by Spalding coming over on help D.
Yes. There it is, Jalen Brunson with his head up. Oh, look at that.
Little reverse against Arcidiacono and set up Spalding for the three. And Ray Spalding continues to impress here. Second round pick on draft night. Jamal Mosley, the Summer League coach here, says he's got a great demeanor and there's, quote, a smoothness to his game. And he really is a fluid athlete.
Yes,
I see what he means.
Yeah.
Dante Ingram knocks down another three. Back-to-back threes by Ingram. And he's got 10. Somewhere Sister Jean is smiling.
Yes, she is.
Jalen Brunson. These two reviving practice matchups from years ago. Ingram, excuse me, that's Hutchison now.
Hutchison is shooting the ball, shooting well today as well.
That's his third three of the afternoon. Hutchison shot just under 36% from three-point range as a senior. I mentioned earlier that's something he really worked on. The Mountain West Player of the Year at Boise State last year, where averaged 20 a game. Jalen Brunson, like he's always done, making things happen.
Las Vegas Summer League, where Wendell Carter Jr. has been putting on a defensive showcase, throwing up a bunch of blocks. And I asked him, where did that passion for defense come from? And he said he's always been super competitive. He hates when people score on him. He wants to win everything, even lighthearted things. He said, like board games, or his family, they play spades. And sometimes they're so competitive, they don't even talk to one another over the game. And he said the best spades player in his family is his grandma, Granny Mary Davis.
Granny Mary Davis, not to be trifled with in a game of spades. Yeah, exactly. You know, I had a college roommate back in school, and he and I would go play tennis against one another. Neither one of us is especially good at it, but it was understood that we would not be speaking on the way home.
That's what it's all about. Roz, I know you're competitive like that too, so I already know. Knowing you like I do.
You know what? I don't play spades as competitively, but I can get that way as well.
Just in general.
Right? No, in general, definitely. I like to win at chess, Monopoly.
Checkers.
But that has to be like an inner motivation that comes from within, especially when you're so young and get into the defensive end. A lot of guys, they immediately get to shooting and scoring and those kinds of things. But when you're internally motivated, you can have the effort on defense and the good habits to come and make those plays.
And he definitely has the effort and the wherewithal defensively. And one thing, I think the Bulls are extremely happy. But yeah, you know, when you draft a player, you see what you have, and then all of a sudden you see it in this atmosphere on this stage, and you're impressed, and he's like, hey, we can work with. We have a baseline that we can work with. Right. And he's definitely setting the tone for how he wants to play. Another former teammate of mine is in the game, Jarnell Stokes.
Jarnell Stokes, former D-League MVP, Jarnell Stokes. Yes. Well, Vince, you know, too, these NBA seasons are long grinds. You can't teach the want to.
Yeah, you cannot. You cannot.
When it comes to defense, rebounding, that sort of thing, the elements that lead to winning basketball.
Yep.
You've got to buy into that.
For sure. For sure. And you can't teach effort, and it's great to see that he has that. And it's a lot of these young guys that come on the court, some get on the court, they're satisfied with just making the roster. You got to understand, the hardest part of this is sticking around, because there's so many guys who want to be in this league.
And there's plenty of talent out there. The Summer League tournament continues tonight here in Las Vegas on ESPN2 and the ESPN app. Pistons, Minnesota, Toronto, and the Denver Nuggets all on tap. Here it's the Bulls up by 9 on the Mavericks, 61-52. Josh Adams handles for Dallas. Plays college ball at Wyoming. That was a tricky pass down low that kind of at the ankles of Jacob Wiley. Really a tough catch for him.
You see Giannis is in the building over there watching his brother play. It's amazing with their family. All three brothers have had the opportunity to be in this league.
Thanasis and now Kostas. It's an amazing family story. Family was out selling stuff on the sidewalk in Greece to make ends meet. And now Giannis has a $100 million NBA contract and is nowhere near done earning in the NBA.
No way.
Adams with a deep three, felt it and knocked it down.
Definitely will be one of the best players in the East this year, if not the best. I mean, his growth and his confidence in this game right now has just been fun to watch and treat. He's really worked on his game, worked on his body, and he wants to be one of the best, if not considered the best in the game.
Well, it's an interesting question with LeBron's departure from Cleveland and playing from the Western Conference for the first time. Is that guy the best player in the Eastern Conference? And if not Giannis Antetokounmpo, then who?
Then who? Exactly. I mean, he's playing at that level, and I saw a tweet that he did, and he's like, the motivation, because in his mind, that is a goal of his. He wants to be the best in the East, and he knows with the departure what is available for him. More money, that is.
Right. There's Kostas, second round pick, Mr. Irrelevant, if you will. Number 60 overall, last pick of the second round.
He's a long young man.
Yes. He's not put up big numbers at Dayton, but you see the length at 6'10", and obviously you see what his brother has done, the potential. Remember, Giannis was incredibly raw when he came to the NBA.
Absolutely.
He was playing in Greece at a level that's been described to me as something like Division III basketball. It was a pro league, but not the top pro league in Greece. Nowhere near it.
Wow. I can imagine those one-on-one games with the brothers. A lot of length, guard each other.
Wow. Doesn't work in the driveway, put it that way.
No.
Need a full court for those guys.
I would think, and they're playing about 10 and a half feet.
Yes.
10 feet's too short. Giannis in the building. Chicago up, 63-56.
Fans, be sure to download the NBA app to keep up with all things Summer League. Get your highlights, scores, schedules with the click of a button to stay in the know with NBA Summer. We know the Bulls are leading the Mavericks by 7, 63-56. Trying to move into the winner's bracket here as the tournament has begun. Turnover out of the timeout by Dallas. And back come the Chicago Bulls.
Very competitive game here. The guards getting at each other.
Mike Scott handles for
That's what you want to see.
the Bulls. Kyle Collinsworth comes down with a miss for Dallas. Collinsworth was a triple-double guy at BYU. Antetokounmpo can't finish, but comes back with it. And there's Jacob Wiley with a running right-hander. That won't fall.
He wasn't close to getting the ball. He just stretched out his arms and gets the rebound. What a luxury.
It kind of messed with my perception of what was possible for a rebound. He was nowhere near the ball and somehow came down with it. long like his brother. Kostas Antetokounmpo is 6'10". Only averaged 5 points a game at Dayton last season, but shot 57%. Here's Jarnell Stokes.
That is the man right there.
Antetokounmpo got a hand on that as well. Jarnell Stokes is just a really solid, sturdy pro.
Yes.
Hasn't been able to stick in the NBA.
I had him in Memphis and had to run across him a couple of times in the lane, and he's a strong individual.
Yes.
Great guy. Loves to play. Put a lot of work in his game to develop a post move and a jump shot because he really wants to be in this league.
Played in China last season.
He played well there.
Here's the rookie Hutchison, steps back, and that's blocked by Antetokounmpo. And again, there is no substitute for that kind of length.
No. And if anything, that's what you can get. That's what you can get from him right now. Even if his offense is not there, his defense and his ability to just defend and use those long arms
and rebound,
that's what you want.
Just
and run
things.
The floor, absolutely. Especially with the small lineups now.
Right. Collinsworth to the rim, and Kyle Collinsworth pulls the Mavericks within 5 at 63-58. Closing in on a minute left in the third quarter. And here's Stokes from the mid-post, but he shuffled the feet before he made the move. Next door at Cox Pavilion, the Rockets have beaten the Brooklyn Nets. And so it'll be Houston and Cleveland coming up in the winners bracket. Round 2 on Saturday at 4:30 Eastern time. You can see that game on ESPN2. These two teams trying to make their way to the winner's side. Adams to Antetokounmpo, back to Josh Adams. He's got Stokes in front of him.
For Jarnell to be that big, he moves his feet extremely well.
And comes back for the rebound defensively. Mike Scott probing. Floater is good. Nicely done by Mike Scott. Good patience. And a nice touch on the finish as Antetokounmpo hit the deck.
He had to get it up there really high because Antetokounmpo was on his way.
Manu Licanti answers for Dallas. Mavericks have gone back to this smaller guard front.
Yeah. With this lineup, the two guards, Adams as well, and Licanti, they picked up the ball pressure, which ignited their run.
Right. They're a big part of that 15-point lead Dallas built in the first half. Chandler Hutchison to the free throw line now for Chicago. He was the 22nd pick of the first round. Set a school record with 23 double-doubles last season. First player in Boise State history to lead his team in scoring, rebounding, assists, and steals.
Stat sheet stuffer, I think that's what they call him.
Had a 44-point game back in January against San Diego State. Adams lost it, got it back, and Randy Brown folds himself over in dismay at the foul out
the
on the
intensity
perimeter
of your coach is what you want, what you appreciate, and that makes you play hard for your coach when he loves the game like he does.
He's still annoyed by the foul over there from Matt Williams Jr.
I think that would be me as a coach.
Under 10 seconds left to go here in the third quarter. Here's Adams. Hangs. Good defense straight up. He gets it back, and then he's fouled by Williams. Williams did a good job initially defending Adams at the rim, but when he came back up with it, fouled him on the putback attempt. And with 2.5 to go, Adams will go to the free throw line here for Dallas. Josh Adams, 6'2", out of Wyoming. Played with a couple of different teams in Turkey last season. 24-year-old. Mike Scott beat the buzzer. Comes up short. Chicago with a 6-point lead here, 67-61. Nice work here by Mike Scott. A lot of work left with 10 minutes to go here in Vegas. (67-61), the MGM Resorts Las Vegas Summer League. And we are joined by the voice of the NBA Finals, ABC and ESPN, Mike Breen, who is here to hang or to work?
Hang.
Just to hang.
And a little work. And
a little work.
Mostly hang.
Mostly hang.
You've
Good to
earned
have
it.
you along.
How are you, man?
You've
Hey,
earned
Vince.
it. How you doing, man?
Good. Very good.
Good to have you with us. I know you're big into the referee world and the rules. You're as on top of the rules as any broadcaster in any sport that I can think of. I'm curious about where you think the rules should go and what rule you would change if you had the opportunity. We hear Jeff Van
What
Gundy.
rule needs to be changed?
We hear Jeff Van Gundy offer his opinions every time he has a microphone in front
How
of
long
him.
was he on for?
Well, he didn't come over here, but anytime he's on with you, he gives us 10 or 15 suggestions on
He
rule
has,
changes.
and most of them are really strong suggestions. There are a few that are a little disturbing.
Yep.
But for the most part, they're pretty good. A couple of them, like I would like to see, and I know I sound like an old-fashioned old man on this, I'd like to see more traveling and more palming called. I think guys are getting away with stuff.
Just
It's not
on
the
the-
way the game
yeah.
is supposed to be played, and they're gaining advantages.
Right.
That's to me the biggest change. I think they've done a better job in the last couple of years of doing it. I think it can even go farther.
Well, and I've contended for years, first of all, you could clean this up in about a week. The athletes are so good. You know,
It's
as
tough.
a kid if you've traveled or not, right? You know what that is. And at a certain point in the NBA, you learn what you can get
But
away
by the
with.
time you get to that point, you don't realize it because it's a part of your game now.
That's interesting.
The hang dribble to the crossover or the hang dribble and go, it becomes a part of your game. So that would be tough for players to adjust to, I think, more than anything.
I think another rule they're looking at that I think would be interesting is offensive rebound. Okay, so offensive team takes a shot, they get the offensive rebound. Shot clock is reset to 24.
Okay.
Reset it to 14.
14, yeah.
Like on an out of bounds. I just think it would speed up the game, make it a little more exciting.
I like that.
And I think that's
nice.
something they're looking at and has a real possibility of happening. And I think it'd be a really good change.
And that happens here in Summer League. They reset to 14.
Right. My favorite change, Matt, was last year when they took away one of the timeouts. Used to have, you'd have 3 timeouts the final
Right,
2
yes,
minutes.
right.
Now just 2 timeouts the final 3, and the end of games were better.
They were. But that doesn't include the inevitable 3 replays that effectively give teams timeouts because they don't have a rule or haven't enforced a rule about players coming over to their bench.
But it did still, overall, I think it really helped in terms of
I agree. The
of
game
making it better
flow
at the
was
end.
better. And in general, I don't know where you stand on this. In general, I'm not a huge proponent of more replay because of game flow primarily, and I understand the idea of wanting to get as much right as you possibly can. The one exception that I would propose, and I've mentioned it to Adam Silver, is that on an out-of-bounds replay, if you see that a foul caused the ball to go out of bounds in the first place, you should be able to call that to correct the wrong. In other words, if a player is fouled and then the ball goes off his fingertips as a result of the foul, it shouldn't be the fouling team's ball.
Well, that's why they did with the
Chandler Hutchison here going in for the dunk.
and it was a big play last year in the finals on that play on the restricted area where they changed it because you're going to replay. You see, okay, he's out of the restricted area, but you say, oh my goodness, it was clearly a block. The restricted area really should have had nothing to do with it.
Right.
So it's the same premise as what you're talking about. It's just now you're starting to go down a slippery slope where you're bringing in subjective calls on replay, and I think that's a dangerous path to go.
I get it. You see it all the time on that out of bounds call where they can't do anything about it because the ball clearly went off one player's hand. But then you see, well, there's a reason it went off his hand because he was fouled by the other player. And I get the argument against it is that, well, how far back in time do you go? How many other things can you bring in? It is, you're opening up Pandora's box.
A lot of arguments going to happen then because, you know, they're going to say, well, I was fouled and this, that, and the fourth. So it's just kind of crazy. But the NBA is definitely trying to make the game faster. You know, the way, and of course the NBA is being played faster with centers shooting the game. Calling games and seeing, well, first of all, what do you think about, what are your thoughts on, in the finals, it was talked about a lot, the switching. Late in the game, Cleveland, it was LeBron and Love. They were running a high pick and roll with the switching out here. And it's just some of the unnecessary switching now. What do you think about that?
You mean the defensive switching?
Defensive switching, just the unnecessary switching in the defensive game. I know you guys see it a lot. And I heard you guys talking about it a little bit, like some of the switching that happened, you just didn't understand why.
Right, and it almost becomes, that's just, all right, that's the way Team A is doing it, so Team B, C, and D are going to do the same thing. Right. I agree with you. There's a better way to play it depending on the situation. But it just, you know, sometimes, and this is in every sport, you get a copycat league where everybody's just following suit. It's like the three-point shot. Now, we all know the game has completely changed with that. But there are a lot of guys who have no business taking three-point shots.
But if you look before games, they're working on that shot.
Right.
You don't see as many bigs or now, I mean, guards now. You probably see guards working on post-ups more than bigs now. They work a few post-ups, and then now they get in the corner threes. That's what we're seeing now.
Right. No, it's cyclical. I mean, it goes and comes. There's going to be a time soon where strong pivot play is going to come back in full force, and you're going to need a strong pivot man.
I won't be here for that.
But that's just, you know, it just.
Yeah,
the way it goes from one era to another, sometimes things come back quicker than you think.
So I think the defensive switching for a lot of teams has just become a blanket policy.
A convenience, yes.
So often they put themselves in a position to give the offense a menu, essentially, of defenders. Who do I want to pick on this possession?
Right. So
you shouldn't give that up every possession.
Right. For me, if I want to have my best defender on the hot player or the best offensive player, particularly late in the game, I don't care where they set the screen. If it's in the scoring area or particularly at half court, we're not switching. You go under. Hard show or something like that. So it's just weird to see. I knew for you guys.
You know, Mark and Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson talked about it at length.
Yes, I remember.
Because, as you say, there's so many times it's just not necessary. It's like, what are you doing?
Right. So LeBron James has left Cleveland. You may have heard. off to Los Angeles. Yeah. There was some coverage of that.
There are a lot of favorite restaurants in Cleveland that I love going to that I'm not going to be going to as many times.
But you know what? There's a whole buffet of food available to you in Los Angeles where I imagine you'll be spending a fair amount of time over the next few years.
It's it's for the league. You feel bad for the people of Cleveland because it's
the
going to be
businesses of Cleveland as well.
Exactly. They talk about the amount of money that comes into downtown when he returned. It's extraordinary. It's hard to believe that one man, one player, one pro athlete can make that much of a difference financially for a city. But he did come and he promised them what he wanted to bring, and it was one of the great stories for him to bring that title. And now for him to go of all franchises to, one of the glamour franchises in all of sports, not just the NBA, is going to make for some, you talk about the spotlight.
Oh, yeah.
He's had the spotlight wherever he's been, but it will be as bright as it's ever been.
Yes.
And his teammates will find out about that quickly.
6 of the top 8 scorers in NBA history now have worn a Laker uniform.
Wow.
At some point in their career, yeah.
Wow. Now, your stat guy, Dave Freed, didn't give you that.
He may have. It's possible.
I have 2 questions for you. Who are you impressed with here in Summer League, and what are your thoughts on the Kawhi situation?
First off, because I still do 50 to 55 Knick games a year for the regional telecast for the MSG Network.
Right.
I've kept a close eye on them, and this kid Knox has been very, very impressive. It's scary at 19 and we've seen it a lot. How many over the last couple of years? These 19-year-olds who can have an immediate impact.
Right.
Yeah, it's just
and the way they're built now.
Right.
I mean, these guys,
Right.
like you say, oh, once he gets his body ready. We say that about a lot of players that become stars, but some of these guys are NBA ready body-wise.
and NBA ready, mature-wise,
Yes.
in terms of
Agreed.
poise, the way they carry themselves, how they deal with the media. I think that's one area where social media has really helped today's young players. They're dealing with things like that while they're still in high school.
Right.
Obviously not on the same level. But the kid Knox has impressed me so much with his play on the court and his post-game interviews and the way he handles, because he's going to have to deal with a lot of that, obviously, coming up in New York. What was the second question?
Kawhi Leonard. What do you think about that, and where do you think he's going to end up?
Where's he
when
going
the
to play?
season
We'd all like
starts?
to know.
I have absolutely no idea. I think the Spurs have handled it well from a standpoint of not rushing into it, trying to figure out what's the best case scenario. I would love to hear what Kawhi Leonard himself thinks and what the reasons, instead of all the speculation and all the sources say.
Right.
He's one of the premier players in the league. So it's just an unfortunate situation because it was so perfect there in San Antonio. It completely changed the way the franchise, the way they were going. So hopefully it gets wrapped up soon.
We'll see. We'll find out. Or maybe we won't until February. I don't know. Mike, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Matty.
Mike
Always,
Green.
Vince. My pleasure.
One of the greats. We're back here in Las Vegas after this. Well, Bulls lead the Mavericks here 78-68. Markelle Fultz taking it in. Last year's #1 overall pick, who has been working with shooting coach Drew Hanlon, who says we're all going to be amazed when we see Fultz come back, see what the stroke looks like. With such an unusual rookie season last year with Philadelphia. Some of it cloaked in mystery. That shoulder injury, that's really good stuff from Wendell Carter Jr. Showed the footwork and the touch.
But that's what you want to see. That's what I want to see. I want to see him work in the post. The guard play is taken care of. We know he can shoot the ball, but they're going to need a post presence of some sort. Yes, the game is three-point shot and outside in, but at some point you're going to have possessions where you need to get the ball in the post.
He's 7 of 9, 14 points on the afternoon. They haven't gone out of their way to get him shots. It's all been within the flow.
But at the same time, he's a guy that you need some experience offensively, touches. I don't want to say force feed him, but you want to kind of get him rolling and get him comfortable.
By the way, you've mentioned old teammates. Comes up frequently when we're doing these games.
Uh-oh.
You've got
Daryl Armstrong.
Yeah, they're all
there?
over the building, right? Wherever you are.
As soon as I take a glance, former teammates. There's more? Uh-oh. Let me think. Let me look.
You have played with 228 players, which is second all time. Juwan Howard has the all-time record for teammates played with, 236. So
I could possibly, potentially. I will pass him this year.
Just by signing with a team, you're likely to pass. Unless you have a bunch of repeats.
Probably not.
Here's Blakeney.
That's crazy. Wow.
I'm told we had an intern count your teammates.
Well, tell him I said thank you, because I would have had no idea.
Here's Blakeney flying in for the big finish and a 12-point lead. And Blakeney had something to say to Adams on his way back down the floor.
I think as he was going up for the dunk, Adams brushed his leg as he's going up, particularly going up with 2 feet. It's a little scary and dangerous.
Yep. And here it is again. See what kind of contact there is on the back end of this as Blakeney snuck in there for the steal. He touched him on the leg.
And
nothing malicious. But
the weird thing about that, so for Blakeney, and you're worried about holding on to the rim because you don't want a technical.
Right.
But at the same time, I'd rather take the technical and fall off the rim and hurt myself, a la Gerald Wallace.
Right.
Back in the day. Here's a name for you. You probably haven't heard in a while, but Gerald Wallace, seen twice fall off the rim in his career. So, and I'm sure there's more.
Blakeney again going to the rim. This guy is just, a scorer.
I said Lou Williams, but I'm starting to see a little Jordan Crawford.
Jordan Crawford, okay.
In his game as well. Herky-jerky hesitation.
Yep.
I mean, he's a special offensive player.
12 of his 26 here in the fourth, and a chance to add on to that here at the free throw line with 3 minutes to go. And add to the Bulls' lead, which stands at 12. G League Rookie of the Year last season out of LSU, Antonio Blakeney. Undrafted a summer ago. Going to up his average. He's got 28 now. Came in averaging just under 18 a game. Mentioned earlier he averaged 32 a game in the G League last season. Adams,
getting close to it.
Adams knew he was short on the three, but couldn't collect it.
I know Raj spoke about him working on his efficiency and just being smart about his play, but when it's winning time, he said, I got to go get it.
Dante Ingram now with 13. He's looked good on those catch and shoot opportunities this afternoon. Antetokounmpo and one. Costas to the line when we come back, but Chicago has things in hand, up by 15 late in Vegas. Bulls have turned around this game from a 15-point deficit to a 15-point lead now, 90-75. Antonio Blakeney has gone off here late. He's got 28, 14 of those in the fourth quarter.
Getting it done.
Costas Antetokounmpo at the line for Dallas with 2:28 to go. Winner of this game takes on the winner of the Pistons-Timberwolves contest, which is happening over at Cox Pavilion right now.
We've seen the Dallas Mavericks on top of the game early and kind of fall apart late. There's just no scoring in the second half. Their defensive intensity, they tried to pick it up with their smaller guards, but no scoring.
Also missed 9 free throws in 20 attempts.
That hurts.
There's the bracket as it stands right now. Mentioned the Pistons and Timberwolves happening on ESPN2 as we speak. Chandler Hutchison's had some nice moments, and so has their first #1 overall pick on cue, Wendell Carter Jr., who's had an efficient afternoon. He's now 8 of 10 for 16 points and 9 boards. That length of Antetokounmpo didn't bother him.
Yeah. Well, what he did is he went to his face-up move to give him some space, looked him off, jump shot.
Leads now 16 for Chicago. Remember, Dallas had that great first quarter. They scored 28. They've scored 47 since.
They were up 13 at the end of one. You felt like they were going to run away with this, and then all of a sudden.
Phil Green to his left. He'll finish. But it's looking like too little and too late for the Mavericks. Ingram trapped out front to Hutchison. Inside, Carter throws it down. Wendell Carter Jr. may have gotten hit on the head for his trouble. And he's got 19.
We also didn't see much of Jalen Brunson in the second half as well.
That's true. One thing I really like about Carter's afternoon here is that, you see in these summer league games sometimes that teams will make a concerted effort to feature a particular player, often one of the high draft picks, either to get their confidence going or just to work on a particular element of their game. That hasn't been the case at all with Carter. He's got 19 just by being out there.
You're right. And it hasn't been the case a little bit. They tried to feature Trae Young a little bit, but teams are now to say, hey, we want you to play within the flow of the offense and then get him in and get him out.
Blakeney just features himself.
Absolutely.
That one wouldn't fall.
He cleared the guys out and said, I got this one.
Adams fouled by Carter. Here's Wendell at the rim. Little of what Chandler Hutchison can do as well as a playmaker.
Right. I guess I can call Steve Smith a former teammate in the Olympics.
I don't think it counted on that list we gave you earlier, the 228. Those were NBA teammates.
Yeah.
Smitty's here, setting up. Kristen Ledlow, Steve Smith, Jared Greenberg. All on hand, waiting to take their turn. The next couple of games. Antetokounmpo snatches that out of midair and sets up Phil Green for the bucket.
A little too late.
Now, it's hard to say what Kostas Antetokounmpo's skill level will be moving forward, but that length is formidable. Looks so much like a younger version of his brother.
Darnell just took that out of his hand.
Darnell is a strong young man.
Yes, he is. And I said yesterday, his brother's bigger than him.
Darnell's brother?
Yes, and younger.
Bulls will play it out, and they get the win. 95-83. Chicago moves on to the winner's bracket here in Las Vegas. Big fourth quarter for Antonio Blakeney, who had 14 of his 28 after the third. Wendell Carter Jr. with 19 points and 9 rebounds for Chicago, and they move on to face the winner of the Pistons and Minnesota Timberwolves game happening right now on ESPN2 from Cox Pavilion. Who impressed for you, Vince?
I mean, I'm really impressed with Wendell and Blakeney. I mean, I'd seen him play obviously last year, but and Jalen Brunson. I mean, the guys the drafted players, I am definitely impressed with.
Brunson played really well. Did not play much late in this game, but didn't shoot well necessarily. But 7 assists, just a single turnover for Brunson when he was out there. And for Chicago, it is a luxury in Summer League to have a player with the kind of explosive offensive ability of Antonio Blakeney to turn to when you need buckets.
Yeah. When you're down 15, your pressure, you turn up your defensive pressure and get it to your guy who can get you a bucket in a hurry.
And here he is with Roz.
Antonio, congratulations. You balled out today. What do you feel you've been able to showcase here in year 2 at Summer League?
Just, what I've been working on, everything I've been working on, getting better, working hard, working on my playmaking ability, also my shot and stuff like that. The last couple nights, my 3-ball been off. I think tonight, I showed my shots getting better and stuff like that.
Right, and in the G League, you have been able to dominate. What do you feel your role will be with the NBA and with the Bulls?
I think in the NBA right now, as a young player, I got to come in and try to bring that energy off the bench defensively and give that scoring punch. Obviously, I'm a scorer. I led the G League a scorer. I can pretty much score, at any level. So I think right now it's just, bringing that energy off the bench and just that scoring punch.
What kind of mindset does it take to be that potent of a scorer? I mean, at one point you just looked unconscious.
Yeah, just being unconscious and being confident. Like when you're a scorer like me, sometimes you might not shoot it well, but I don't let it bother me. I go into the next game with the same mindset. I don't care what people think or what people say about my shots. I just keep going.
What's the hardest part about the journey from going undrafted to trying to secure a role in the NBA?
I mean, when you go undrafted, obviously you're the lowest man on the totem pole. You're trying to make the team. When you get on the team, you're trying to crack the rotation. You're the lowest man on the totem pole. There's a lot of draft picks, a lot of people who's getting paid a lot of money and stuff like that. So kind of got to be the guy early, leaving late, and learning from all the veterans and stuff.
For sure. Well, I wish you continued success and luck on your way.
Thank you.
Congrats, guys.
No shortage of confidence for Antonio Blakeney, who says he can score at any level, and he may be rising on that Bulls totem pole moving forward. Coming up next, it's the Atlanta Hawks and the Indiana Pacers. Vince, waiting for that phone to ring. Look forward to seeing you play next season somewhere.
Keep it on my hip.
Breaking that Juwan Howard teammate record as well. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Kristen Ledlow, Steve Smith, and Jared Greenberg are up next with the Pacers and Hawks.